Wow, Kai, we've seen, what's this opening called?
It's called the orangutan.
Orangutan opening from Magnus Carlsen. You predicted a King's Pawn opening. We were talking about an offbeat opening. This is as offbeat as they come. I've never seen this from a top-level Grandmaster in a serious event.
No, but is it a mouse slip? Magnus had like a huge reaction after making it, it seemed.
Maybe he wanted to move the pawn next to it, the English opening, but...
Maybe the pawn 1 square forward rather than 2 squares forward. No. I don't know. It would be great if we could actually see, if we have that recorded, if we can actually see Magnus's reaction after making that first move once again. I just want to see if we are... OK. What do you think?
OK, Magnus...
Or was it planned? OK, what's happening?
I mean, they've been making moves thick and fast. Black actually developed in the centre with his own pawn, and there has been a trade. The first pawn that White pushed, the orangutan opening, that has been snapped off the board as well, but in return, Magnus gaining his central pawn. So a trade of pawns already at this early stage. Magnus now attacking Black's bishop, which was developed. So Magnus just trying to kick that away with the pawn. I think it wasn't a mouse slip. I think I've seen this position before, and... Okay. Magnus wouldn't have followed up his mouse slip so quickly if he hadn't prepared it.
Having said that, David, this isn't this pawn move that Magnus has just played isn't the most mainstream. Normally, you pick up that pawn and you move it 2 squares. Now he's actually moved it 1 square. So, are we seeing some clever preparation, do you think?
Yeah, I've seen some experts play this actually with reverse colours, the same opening but with reverse colours, and they like to push the pawn just 1 square to kick that bishop back. I think the idea is that White's bishop, which looks very nice and very centralised right now, will trade itself off for a knight later. So you want to put your pawns on dark squares as White because you're going to give up your dark square bishop. You're going to trade it off. And now Magnus making a pawn push there. The evaluation by the computer is not a big fan of that move. Magnus... OK, he must have some ideas in mind, but he's freestyling in a way. He just wants to kind of surprise Giri, shock Giri, get Giri out of his comfort zone. I think Magnus, he's playing for the psychological side here. It's not ideal chess. This is not what we recommend to players starting the game. I mean, look at White's pieces on the right side. Look at White's pawns in front of the king. You want to control the centre. This is not what we recommend. It's not conventional chess, but it shakes things up. It's new. It's exciting, at least for us. And... yeah, Giri is the one to spend a bit more time in these early stages trying to get to terms with this new scenario. Yeah,
that is a very unusual move that Magnus has just played with the king's with the knight pawn there. In fact, I did think that perhaps it was an homage to Danish Grandmaster Bent Larsen, who's actually played the system before, but nope, I mean, definitely not. Now we're in territory where only 3 games have been played in the database.
Magnus smiling now as well. He just had a little laugh to himself.
What is this? So are we still in the orangutan opening? This is in some...
Once you've been swinging with those orangutans, you can't turn back. And, OK, Magnus making a face there, surprised by Giri's move. Now the white bishop was attacked in the centre. It trades itself off for a knight. We see a trade there. So Magnus, with that orangutan opening, spent 3 moves with his bishop, but it's disappeared from the board. So he's lost a lot of time. Black ahead in development. Black with the 2 bishops now. Look at White's pieces. None of them have moved. He needs to start getting those pieces. He needs to just somehow get them into the centre, get them controlling some squares. But Magnus...
why is it called...
Not a fan of this opening.
Why is it called orangutan opening? Do we know?
I wish I knew.
I don't actually know. I can find out.
Yeah, most openings, they're named after maybe prominent players who've used that opening, who've been cheerleaders for that opening, or they're named after places where that opening have been played. The London system, the French defence, that kind of thing. But the orangutan, it's one of the odd ones. I'm a big fan of the hippopotamus opening. That one I can say why, but the orangutan... yeah, it's a bit of an odd one. Yeah,
we did have a couple of moves here.
Yes, we had a couple of moves. White just developing a bishop and Black castling the king to safety. Very natural play. The next few moves will slow down the pace of the game. It's just about developing now, but Magnus, the onus is definitely on him to justify his slightly offbeat, bizarre opening choice.
Yeah, no, Kai has asked the question that's actually, I've been dying to know the answer. Why is it called the orangutan opening? And you can just see, actually, on the board that Magnus is continuing with his strategy of placing all the pawns on dark squares. Those pawns are going to be a wall against that dark squared bishop. But yeah, I mean, we don't know the answer about why the opening is called the Orangutan opening. I have heard it called the Sokolowski. Obviously,
Sokolski, yeah.
Sokolski, yeah. Massacred that one, sorry. But OK, I mean, if anyone does know the answer, please tweet us using the hashtag #ChessChamps. And meanwhile, the game is still continuing. I mean, Magnus is definitely developing his pieces. He's moved his knight. Is this an interesting choice? Because it's not the most active move for the knight, but I'm guessing that it will go on to other pastures, perhaps to put pressure on the centre. And Anish is kind of playing my favourite strategy in the opening, which is light square strategy, putting the pawns on light squares, and it's going to be all about that light squared bishop. Yes,
and the reason I think Magnus put his knight on that square in front of the white king is any other squares would have blocked the white bishop. You don't want to block the white bishop, and Anish Giri, understanding that white's bishop is probably the most important piece long-term for white, he's trying to put those pawns as a possible blockade along the longest diagonal, actually, in chess. And, yeah, white's bishop, it looks very nice, but it is completely hemmed in.